to the Refined Strength podcast. We are officially in season 2 of the podcast. So the podcast started, I don't even know when I started it. I think I started it in January or February of 2025, maybe a little sooner. But it has been a really cool last year of the podcast. But more importantly, it's been a really beautiful 2 years of Refined Strength being what it is. I built Refined Strength. I started it and announced the beginning of it October 6th, 2023.
Yeah,
so
you did.
Now, when you are listening to this, been officially 2 years with Refined Strength, and just about official 2 years or 1 year with my lovely, amazing coaches by my side.
Yay.
Jessica and Daraja Weidemeyer.
Hello.
I can't believe that.
Happy 1 year anniversary. Yeah, I wanted this episode, I want to catch up and because it's been a few weeks or a couple months since the podcast has been out, and just what's going on with you guys? Share some highs and lows.
Yeah, man. Jess, you go first.
You know what? Okay.
I volunteer Jess as tribute.
I feel like all three of us have just been going through a lot lately.
Yeah.
Like the last few months, we've had multiple conversations about just us going through life as Cubans. So going
life
through
is lifing.
phases. I know, going through different phases, like big life events. It's crazy because it was July long weekend. No, 4th of July. Is that the same thing? Canadian.
I don't know what July long is. Can you tell the Americans what that is?
I don't know.
I was like, do you know something I don't about the month of July?
I'm very confused. It's like, here's the Canadian situation. 4th of July weekend, is that more appropriate?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. We found out we needed to have our entire upstairs remediated and pulled apart. And so I haven't had walls until we moved back in 2 days ago. So that's crazy. And it's September 29th. So that was fun. Lived with plastic walls for a while.
Lived in Austin for a while.
Yes. And then at the end of it, just came to Dallas because we also got a puppy in the middle of this. We thought all of the remediation was going to be done by now, which it wasn't. And so we decided to get a new dog. And we were really excited about that new experience because we lost Guinness 2024 and we really we both needed time to just grieve and work through it. And is that Louie?
That was Louie, yeah.
And we're like, okay, we're getting a dog. So we got a dog, but in amidst all of this, we basically went to Dallas to go pick up this dog. And we didn't know when we were going to pick up the dog or when we were going to come home, but we basically just stayed with Rachel for an undisclosed amount of time. So super thankful for you and Austin and just coming to your house and living with you. I remember Austin being like, so how long are you guys staying? We're like, actually, we don't know. And it's like, oh, we also have to pick up a dog. You're going to go home when you pick up the puppy? No, we can't.
Thank goodness they had just moved into a great new house.
Yeah, we had the space for the best.
Yeah. So yeah, that was it's been a lot. And I've been traveling. I've gone to Dallas a few times. I had clients competing, and yeah, there's just been a lot of that going on. But now people who are watching this on YouTube can see that I am back in my office. It's not fully done, but I actually have walls and paint, and there's a 8.5-week-old puppy downstairs that Bob is dealing with, who's just a crazy little animal, but we're in love already. So that's what's happening. Yeah.
Awesome. Getting a new puppy is always a high point of anything.
Yeah. I mean, it was hard. Honestly, it was really hard for it to be a high and for it to feel like a high, just because of everything and all the house that was going, all the house stuff that was going on. The people who were doing our house were not doing a good job. And so we were having to micromanage them. And I was not excited. And neither was Bob. Like, if I'm being totally honest, like, we were like, I don't want this dog right now. Like, we were like, not about it. So, yeah, but we knew that feeling would go away.
Yeah.
It was like really bittersweet. I was really super emotional, like, for a
I
few days
bet. Yeah.
because I was like not excited. I was like, yeah. And
But now
you
that
I
you can like settle into it, you're like, okay.
yeah. And I was so happy to be with you, Rach, because we talked a lot about it. Like, I had an adrenaline dump on Thursday. I don't even know what day it is.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm not okay.
Girl.
I was like, we should take a walk outside.
It's so funny because I've had several moments like that myself where I'm just like, I'm not great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely have had a lot of life going on as well. Lots of travel. I took my fourth solo trip with my baby last week and I am worn out mentally, physically, spiritually. Need some time to just be settled in. It was for all, to see family, which is, always good, and making those trips obviously because people also want to see the baby. Being in Denver, I'm not near a lot of family, but I see these posts on social media because obviously my social media is very curated at this point, and other posts where moms are always like, well, just bring the baby, and then they show all the shit that you have to do to just bring the baby. And so my family knows at this point that like that's not a thing anymore. There's no more just bring the baby. If you want to see the baby, you come to me. Uh,
Like,
um,
I'm out.
yeah, especially plus now, like she has been a lap child. She's definitely outgrown that role, and she will no longer be a lap baby. She's going to need her own seat. So that's a whole other thing. But so yeah, in between traveling, we did unfortunately lose my grandfather. So that was the last trip we just took. And that was tough because we spent a lot of summers with him and my grandmother. We used to go fishing all the time and doing fun little crafts and stuff. And just, they are a major highlight of my childhood. So it's definitely hard losing him, but it was really cool to see a lot of my family I haven't seen in a long time. And then I guess to top it all off, I came back and I don't know if you can hear her at all, but she's in the other room with my husband. He's trying to get her down for a nap. But I came back and I have a cold. You can probably hear it. And I was fingers
It
crossed.
sounded like
It's not that bad.
yeah.
Yeah. It sounded like I was like on the brink of needing a hospital bed.
Yeah.
You actually sound much improved.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, I was hoping that she gave it to me because I was like, oh, maybe. But no, I gave it to her. So now we're just both sick. And so that in itself, as a lot of the audience might know, is like a great time. But we survive. And we still just look at reasons to smile every day because I just look at that face and I can't help but to smile. So I'm back to being home and I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. Was planning on going to the Olympia, and that's not happening anymore because I'm not ready. She's not ready. And I had to stop trying to force myself into something that I knew in my heart I wasn't quite ready for. And regardless of, I think, how that maybe makes me look to other people, like, oh, mom, you need to get out and do your thing. Well, I will. But I also know what's going to give me peace, and my baby just comes first. It's just where I'm at with it, and that's okay. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
And it's like, I think it is easy to have that kind of guilt over like what other people might think or what other people want you to do. And even just like another version of yourself judging you, if that makes sense. I think we get that a lot easily if we're not careful and if we don't like stop it in its tracks, where we have like this high achieving version of ourselves that we know exists and maybe just like has been a little bit dormant for a while, like from having and being postpartum and all of that. Like, you have that high achieving and like, I can do it all, I can do everything version of yourself. And she's still there. She just like, she needs to get there on her own time. And that's like how I see it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And life
Yeah,
is just different.
it is.
When you go through like big life events, life changes.
Yeah. And I'm also I'm not that person anymore. Like, I'm not I can't just keep holding on to the person that I was before I had a kid because she didn't have a kid. Like it just doesn't, she can't really exist. So, leaning into that too. And like just also in observing, like I know that there are moms who have gone on solo trips, after their baby and XYZ amount of time. And I can't compare myself to them either for my own reasons and their own reasons. Like maybe they have nannies that they've been able to rely on, or they've had family that they live close to that can help out, and like we don't have any of that. So it's just, I would be so heartbroken. Like we tried, my mother-in-law came to stay with us and like test out just having her stay and hang out for a little bit, and Azalea was like, cool, but like no thank you. And I was like, got it.
Take some time and like for both of you to kind of grow into that space of being able to be separate, because obviously we all know it's important for everyone to have their independence, but
For sure. Yeah.
not always right away. So
Yeah. Like I'm going to a concert next week actually, like in place of the Olympia. So I'm excited because I'll have like my mommy night out, and it's an artist that I've been wanting to see for like a long time. So Keith's on duty, and it's Leve. It is spelled Laffy, but it's like pronounced Leve because she's Icelandic. I did, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, big fan. So I'm pumped. It's gonna feel weird, but like I'm really excited that I'm taking that time and I can come home after.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's sweet. Sleep in your own bed.
Yeah. So I guess that would be like a fun highlight of what's up and coming.
yeah, I feel like I've had a lot going on, but it's like kind of always like that. I just have, obviously, we just had Jess and Bob at the house and the puppy and everything. I also just did like a kind of a local, low key client meetup for any of my DFW clients, because I do have a handful of them out here. And so we got to train at Metroflex. I did got some content out of it. I've been really working on just like how, like thinking into the future while trying to remain present, and thinking of like how I want to continue showing up as a leader, as a business owner, as a coach, as a client, or as a friend, and as an athlete, just all of the things. And so that was like, this was a really good weekend for that, because I had the meetup. We also got some time out with friends and that we hadn't seen in a while. And then like I had a fun photo shoot just for me as well, which was really nice. And then like me and Austin went thrifting in the afternoon. So just like working at keeping that level of just like flow of like multiple things that make me happy, that aren't just striving and achieving, but are also just like being
Yeah.
still and chill and like enjoying the moment and things like that. So
Yeah. From the outside looking in, you're doing a really good job of that. And I know that you're very mindful of it. And because like I also myself tried to be very mindful of that. And like it can be so hard, especially when like you do have, this vision and you are motivated to like continue to strive for that next thing and to continue evolving and growing, but also appreciating and living in where you're at and who you are now is, it definitely requires a lot of like, I think, mental effort until it doesn't, but it looks good on you.
yeah, over time it doesn't necessarily get easier. You just get better
Better
and
at it.
more equipped and more effective at
Yeah.
handling whatever you have to deal with.
Yeah.
Because it actually gets harder. Everything in life
Yes.
just is going to continue to get harder.
Yeah.
Whether you're a mom, a dad, childless person like me, just business owner, or just like 1099 employee, whatever, like everything gets harder, because that's just how the world works. And things change. As soon as things start to get easier, things change and they get harder again. But that has been what I've been really mindful of, because especially as I see, and this is kind of tying into our topic today of athletes, especially in their last several weeks of prep, because I've seen a lot of athletes, both my clients, your guys' clients, other athletes in general, feel this immense pressure of like what they're feeling from either comparison, but also looking at how extreme the sport is, and how of bodybuilding, that is, how extreme the sport is of bodybuilding, and how far behind people feel. And when people feel behind, it's generally not because they're actually behind, because you're the only person who chooses where you should be at. So
Mm-hmm.
you're the only person who sets the bar. So if you think you're behind, it's because you set an unrealistic expectation on where you should be by now.
Yeah.
And most of the time, that's what people are doing, because if, like, before you get a coach to tell you what is realistic, you don't really know where you should be at. Generally, a lot of people come to us in consult calls and they're like, okay, I want to start bodybuilding. So can I prep next year? I want to do a show by the end of the year. I had someone that told me that like just a few weeks ago, and it's
And I've only been in the gym for a year, so there's that
like,
too.
what the fuck are you doing?
Oh my God.
Like, just enjoy the building part of bodybuilding, because that's
Yeah.
what it actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's kind of ties into our topic today, is like why I feel it's important to showcase that and be mindful of how it looks, how I'm living my life,
Mhm.
business owner and as an athlete, because I like to feel like I want to be high level at both, but being a high level doesn't mean that you forget about the people you love,
Yeah.
or that
I mean,
you
even in motherhood, I feel like
yeah.
I experienced that because there's you have this vision of, okay, I want to be the perfect mom. I want to get it right every single day, and like it's just impossible to set that standard. It's literally impossible. And so me just learning how to navigate that and giving myself grace while also setting the bar high, because I do want to be a great mom. But that also, like we said, transcends into literally everything: life, bodybuilding, business, school. If you're still pursuing education, it all applies.
Yeah. It's funny because I wrote down comparison as like a little note. Like I always have my notes app running in the background when we talk in case I have like a thought. And Dee, when you mentioned something about comparing yourself and seeing like other mom content or just like curated stuff on your socials and about comparison, I was like, oh, writing that shit down because that happens a lot. And you just like, a lot of people talk about prep goggles, and it's
Mhm.
like, you just think that you should be leaner, but you also should that you've like lost all your muscle, and like emotions are heightened, and so it's really easy to like compare yourself. But also I know like a lot of athletes want to be really engaged in the shows maybe that they're doing or on other people on social media because they have friends in bodybuilding, and so it can be hard to like separate the two
Mhm.
when they're tagging shows that they want to do or other people, and then they think that they should be XYZ.
Yeah.
And
It's a
the
really
fact
good
is,
way to lose your shit at the end of prep
yeah,
when food is low, body fat's low, and your sanity is holding on by literally a thread. It's adding those things to the equation, comparing yourself, following along like religiously on the like competitions page, seeing who's tagging them, trying to keep an eye on your competition. It's just you really need to learn how to filter what you're consuming to make sure that you're not expending energy you don't have, which you don't even realize it's like sucking the life out of you when you're doing it. But it's pulling the last few bits of energy that you have stored, relying on those last two brain cells that are now dead because because you use them on comparing yourself and trying to figure out, okay, am I ready? Can I do this? Instead of just focusing on taking your own two steps, one step at a time, waking up every day, focusing on just executing, all those things make it a lot harder.
when I have clients that give me feedback on like getting in their head about that, I just remind them that they are the only ones who have control over how they execute, right? And so you can only do so much for you. And so what you need to focus on right now is just you. And, if you're really struggling with like thinking ahead, so thinking about tomorrow or how much cardio you have to do later in the day, or let's say like you're mid workout and you're thinking like, oh my God, I don't have any glutes, blah, blah, blah. And you're thinking about that as you're training. Well, you're removing the power that you have from the moment, and you're just like you're not enabling yourself to do what you need to do in order to like get shit done and be your best self in that moment.
I feel like in that you unknowingly pull back because you already feel like you're not going to be successful. So you're just automatically doing less, which I think then produces a lesser result instead of you just focusing on giving 100% at the time.
Rach, what were you going to say?
I was just gonna say I think the most important part of like, or the most important piece of the end of prep, like trait that you can have is managing your stress. And what Daraj was saying and what you're kind of saying too, with just like what thoughts are in your mind. If the thoughts in your mind are all more towards the negative, then you're putting more and more stress on your body. And when we're in prep, we are inherently stressed because you're in a deficit. Being in a calorie deficit is a stress on the body because it's a sign to the body that you need to be in kind of survival mode instead of being like thriving, chill, like I got plenty of food, I don't have to, I can burn this food off, instead of like when the body is stressed, it wants to store the food. And so what little food you have to be able to utilize it and burn through it so that you can keep losing body fat, or so you can utilize the food in training, especially with like high days or diet breaks or things like that. So people will shoot themselves in the foot by allowing themselves to just let that snowball keep gathering speed and size when it comes to stress and what they're stressing about, instead of just stopping and slowing down and thinking like, what are the actual things stressing me out? Is it social media and the comparison that I'm feeling? Is it like this one person? A lot of people get that like one or two people that they see periodically in their preps, even if it's a friend or a teammate or someone that they competed with one time, or maybe it's a pro, or it's someone that they relate to in some way, so that they automatically compare themselves to that person. And then if that person surpasses them in any way, it's just this big hit to your ego. And if viewing that person and their content is making that happen, you need to cut that off. Doesn't mean you need to cut off your relationship necessarily if you have one, but it does mean that you need to protect yourself and protect your mind a little bit more. Like Daraj said, like cultivating what you consume. Sometimes like if you, a great experiment for how easy it is to cultivate your feed is to look at your explore page on Instagram and pick a few different things that you see and that are kind of in the same vein. Like maybe it's a food post. Maybe your 5% of your explore page is food and the rest is fitness or whatever. So like a few of those food posts, send a couple to friends, and then refresh your explore page. All of a sudden you're going to see nothing but food. So like that's how it works. If I want to see more motivational like words or things about whatever, like little motivational word type posts, I'll like a few of those, and then boom, I see a bunch of them, so I can look at all of those. So that's how easy it is to cultivate your feed. And then if you look at who you follow, just go through your following list and see like, do you need to follow all these people? It's okay if you unfollow them. If they get bothered that you unfollow them or mute them, they won't know if you mute them. But if someone gets bothered by you unfollowing them, that's their problem. It's not yours.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, I utilize that mute button a lot, specifically during my preps, which I mean was all the time. So I was like from 2019 to whenever I stopped.
Yeah.
But one thing I definitely did, especially towards the end of Olympia preps, so every single year for 4 years, I would mute, specific competitors that I felt intimidated by or that I felt triggered a lot of doubt in myself, so that I just wouldn't keep seeing their shit. Because the more I saw them, the more I would look at myself in the mirror and my check-in photos and go, that's not good enough, that's not small enough, that's not big enough. And it just added so much stress. Instead of just focusing on, okay, let me just execute my training, let me just execute my diet, let me grind out this cardio and execute this prep to the best of my ability without any extra thought about what anybody else is doing. And it helped significantly because over time I just stopped doubting what I was capable of and just focused on just being the best version of myself, the best that I could each day. What I have found is like, at least for myself, and this is something that I'll try to typically relate to my clients, but if allow those intrusive thoughts to kind of take over, I do pull back. I don't train as hard. I don't give as much to my cardio. I don't give as much to the process. And mentally, if you let that get too far, you pull yourself out of the race completely. And that's not just in competing and bodybuilding, that's in anything. That's in starting a business, that's in school. If I already feel like I am going to fail this test, I'm probably going to fucking fail because I'm not going to study, right? I'm not going to work on my weaknesses because I already feel like I'm down and out. right? If I at least tell myself, okay, I have a chance, then I'm going to put forth the effort that reflects that. And then whatever the outcome is, that is what it is. It's not in my control, especially in a subjective sport like bodybuilding. It is. And then that's where you also can't be married to what subjectively comes in terms of outcome, right? If I knew that I gave my best and I at least check the boxes and I look at my previous physique and I say, I definitely improved on that, then you've won. No, it doesn't feel good to do all of those things and succeed in that and still not get the placing you wanted. It does feel like shit, but you can recover from that. It's harder to recover from not doing well and then also knowing you didn't give 100%.
Mhm.
But that being said, if you do that and you don't take accountability and say, no, I didn't do as well, but did I give 100% to this process? No, I didn't. Then that's just a whole other discussion that we need to have.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you will know if you put in all the effort that you had.
You'll
Maybe
know
you
and
won't.
we'll know.
Yeah, like, because a lot of times what I see is like, someone will, and I've experienced this myself, like with myself, but also with athletes, is that like you don't push as hard because you're kind of protecting yourself from the sting of failure. Because like if you already think, well, I'm not good enough, I fail, I probably will fail, then you're automatically going to start working a little less hard. You're not going to push yourself as much, like everything you just said. And we naturally do that if we have that self doubt and if it's really strong, because if you're the reason you fail, then you have control.
Yeah.
And that's why it feels more comfortable to kind of self sabotage, even though you
Mhm.
might not even realize that that's what you're doing. You tell yourself, like, well, I'm still doing the work, I'm checking the boxes, blah, blah, blah. But if you're self sabotaging by just not putting in as much effort or not being quite as like focused on what you're doing or as intentional or as intense with what you're doing, then you simply won't improve. You won't make the progress that you really need to make, especially if you're like on the cusp of something.
And
If,
I've
if
even seen
you're
it.
if
Oh,
you're
sorry.
really far off, sometimes hard work isn't gonna be enough, right?
Yeah.
That's just is what it is. But if you're really close, it could be the difference from like fifth place to first place,
Yeah.
Mhm.
or fifth place to even an overall. So if that's how much you can jump in a placing just by being a little bit more confident and empowered with yourself, by not letting yourself believe that you can't do something, then
Mhm.
why wouldn't you do that? Because
Yeah.
no matter what, you're still going to, whether you self sabotage or you put in all of your effort and intention, at the end of the day, you're going to know how much work you did, even if your coach doesn't. But most likely, your coach does know that you're not putting in the effort. You might think that they don't because you write 100% on your consistency, on your tracker and your adherence, and you just tell them everything's great. Like, they know. We
There are
know.
signs. There are signs.
There are signs.
Well, and I feel like a lot of the last few weeks of prep can be very intense. You're hungry. You're getting to that level of leanness, especially for like even the more muscular divisions, but even just like bikini, even like, it's a lot of cardio. It's not a lot of food. You're pushing pretty hard. You can get wrapped up in the fatigue or like the discomfort of prep really easily and just talk yourself out of working hard because it's fucking hard. The hardest part of prep is just showing up. It's not actually eating your food. It's not actually doing the cardio. It's literally putting your mind in a place where you just need to do the thing, even though everything in your body might be screaming no. And it's because those last few weeks is the difference between, right, like fifth to like not even getting a first call out. It's really just those last few weeks are going to be hard regardless. Like they are. Whether you half ass it or whether you just like put whatever you have in you in that moment, maybe you compartmentalize, it's just going to be really challenging. And so you might as well just do the work.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just get really wrapped up in it and very anxious. And sometimes you just need to execute,
Yeah.
right?
And that I feel like that to like piggyback off that, Jess, I think all of us do a good job of this as coaches, but we obviously also active competitors, we understand how shitty it is in the gutters of prep. We know how hard it can be mentally, not just physically, but the mental side, which is obviously, the topic of discussion today. But I always know that when we do get to those final weeks, or even like around 6 to 8 weeks out, when you're usually kind of pushing pretty hard to make sure that you're going to be ready on time, is I'm like, listen, food is low, cardio is high, we're pushing hard. You have a lot going on, whether it's you're a mom juggling, trying to balance everything, you're working, you're a working mom, you're in school. I know that it's going to feel like a lot. And the feelings of fatigue or even lack of motivation, like you don't want this anymore, that comes with this territory. So if you do start to feel those things and those thoughts start to take over, I need you to let me know. I need you to shoot me a message. We can schedule a call if we need to. Let's just make sure we stay on top of that and don't go a whole week of feeling like, dang, I don't even want to do this anymore before you let me know. Don't wait till your next check in, because then at that point, who knows how far gone that is going to be. And I want to make sure that we manage it well. And also to just know that you're not going crazy either. We also have to like understand, okay, is it cycle related? Am I tired as shit because cardio is high, hunger is low, and I'm PMSing? Like that is also, easily recognizable from an objective standpoint. Obviously, having been through it and also having, being a coach as well. But it is part of their territory. I don't care what level you are either. Just because you're a first time competitor and you're going through this doesn't mean that the next time you compete, you're never going to experience that again. Every single Olympia prep, I know we hit a point where I'm going to be like, fuck, dude, this is hard. I started prep freaking however long ago so that I could qualify for Olympia. And now we're maintaining and then dieting back down so that I can actually compete at Olympia and show my best. I know that the long haul of this is hard. So knowing that, I've learned to embrace it and also just have that tunnel vision, do the things that we talked about, whether it's communicating with your coach, but also managing your social media and what you're consuming and how you're expending your energy mentally and physically, and just becoming very kind of like, if you need to be a little bit closed off for a little bit, that's fine. If you need to take your break, you don't have to announce it. Okay, you can just disappear and come back. But those are all things that you can do. Those are all tools that you have at your disposal to help manage that. And then also, like I said, just embracing it and knowing, okay, if I feel like this right now, I'm probably right where I need to be. I just need to see it through, because it's part of the process. But like I said, we are also here for you.
Yeah, your coach should be there for you. And if you don't have a coach that you can go to, that's something that, like, maybe that's something that you didn't really realize was something you needed. And so that's where it's like, it's okay to ask your coach, hey, is it okay if I can get more from you? Because I really kind of need it right now. Like, I am struggling with this. I don't know if this is normal. Something that I've had to tell athletes is like, oh yeah, that's pretty normal, but here's how we can try to circumvent it or how we can try to manage it. Sometimes it's as easy as just like trying to get better sleep or drinking more water or, improving your hydration levels, like your electrolytes, things like that can really help a lot with your energy. But sometimes it's also like taking an extra day off of work if you have the ability to, or asking for help more, even though many athletes are high achievers and they're do-it-yourself, independent people, especially females, you like almost take on more instead of trying to ask for help and giving, like, if you have
One
more
of my
free.
toxic traits.
Yeah. Like, it's not, nobody's giving you a fucking badge of honor. Like, nobody is going to be like, wow, you earned this award. Let me pay you more just because you took on more in the last few weeks of prep instead of
He
just
does that.
asking for help. Like, that just doesn't happen.
No.
So obviously you have to be able to do your job, put food on the table, pay your bills, do all of like the basic necessities of life, be a kind person, all of that. But it's okay to ask for help, and not only from your coach, but from other people. And if for whatever reason you're not getting help, it's either because you've been shitty to that person and they don't feel like you deserve it that way. In that case, it's kind of on you and you need to work on your mindset and how you treat people when you're in prep, or it's because they are not really that supportive of you. And that's a good lesson to learn as well.
Bye.
Yeah, I mean, we have client group chats. And so I've encouraged clients to just like reach out to the client group chat. Or I know a lot of our clients have like found bonds, right? So like reach out to them, talk to them about your prep. Be like, hey, like, what did you do on this day when you were really struggling with whatever? Or maybe not even it's a question. Like sometimes you just need to vent to someone who has actually done it. Because as much as I love Bob, he's been through all of my preps with me. He's never actually prepped.
Yeah, I
He's
can relate
not
to
into
that too,
bond,
Jess. I can relate to
right?
that
Like,
too. He's never competed.
yeah, they're like, oh, okay. Like, no, it's like not the same. And so what I've done in as I've gone through different preps and kind of got better at communicating what I actually need, I basically told Bob this past prep, I'm like, sometimes I need you to just be like, it's okay. And that's it. I'm going to like verbalize, like vent to you, and I don't want you to fix anything or whatever. So it's like communicating effectively to those people and telling them these next few weeks I just need you to like be there with me on the couch while I couch veg. Like just like listen to me or whatever it is so that you're telling them how
To
to
show up for
help
you.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that you're not also just adding fuel to the fire for the people who are around you who maybe just don't understand, but then also have people in your circle who hopefully have done a prep before or who do understand. They're like, oh yeah, like depletion's really rough, blah, 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 like whatever it is, you have that commonality. And so, again, you just don't feel alone.
Yeah.
And feeling like you belong is a really important part of just being a human. And it's like that hierarchy of needs. Belonging is a big part of that. So if you have a friend or even just like random people on social media, when I was in Canada, I didn't have anybody really who was a friend in bodybuilding with me. I eventually did, but at the beginning, I really did not. And so I just hung to social media and people who brought joy instead of like going back to that comparison, muting that. But really, social media to a lot of people is about joy and like fun. And so dive into that part of your social media. So your support circle, but also just joy and laughter and whatever it is, instead of just something that kind of consumes you and like makes you a little frantic.
If you do it, if you look at bodybuilding and what it asks of you, I think in the right lens, you really just learn that it just forces you to really just learn how to set boundaries and create an environment that's conducive to your success. And if you can take it one step further, outside of bodybuilding, it also just teaches you how to set boundaries and ask and create an environment that just is conducive to you being like a better human and a better version of you in whatever context that is. Like, I know for myself, bodybuilding helped me in a lot of ways through my own healing journey, just in how I've become who I am from who I was. For that, I will always be so thankful to bodybuilding because it really was one of those things where I was either going to learn how to set those boundaries with certain people and set up an environment that was going to allow me to succeed in something that I was passionate about, or I was going to fail. And I didn't want to fail. So I chose obviously the latter path. And I'm really glad that I did. And it just made me a stronger person where in situations I used to handle differently, I handle a lot better now. And a part of that, like Jess talked about, is also having a supportive group of people that can help you with that. I think that is a segue into one of the things I wanted to talk about, which was unsolicited advice from random people in the gym or in your DMs that are like, hey girl, you're kind of small, or oh my God, you're so skinny, or are you like, or asking if you're in a division that you're not, planning on being in, which I got myself as a competitor early on. People were like, oh, you're a figure competitor. I was like, no, I'm not. um,
For people that
yeah,
think that you're bigger than you actually
right.
are.
But this was like 7 years ago. So obviously things have grown and evolved from that. But yeah, all that to say, a lot of people have a lot of opinions and you don't have to adopt any of those or like have any of those be any sort of voice of reason in your mind at all. You can literally just let it go in one ear and out the other. You can sit on it if you want to and be like, is that something that serves me? Probably not. And just like let it go. But people are going to have something to say sometimes. Some people, you know, I can't really relate because I would never just like have a thought in my mind about, what someone should be doing with their life, especially a stranger, and say that to their face because it's
Have
literally none of my business.
Yeah, having an opinion on somebody else's body.
Yeah,
That's not
like
very.
common sense for some of us, not so much. But it can get to your head if you aren't careful. You can let it, skew how you look at yourself in the mirror, how you look at yourself as a competitor, and where you are in your process. And you can, like, those intrusive thoughts can kind of mask themselves as your own if you're not careful. Those are not your thoughts, those are someone else's thoughts based off of their own experiences, perspective, and judgment for whatever reason, but you just definitely need to be careful with the peanut gallery at the gym and on the internet, because especially the internet is not a safe space for people to just like keep their opinions to themselves. Nobody does that anymore.
I mean, the internet and social media, Instagram rewards people who stay on the app. That's how you have to think about it. And so the people that are keyboard warriors and they're making comments and they're sliding into your DMs, you have to think about, why would this person say this? And like, sure, there might be truth in something that someone says, there might not be. But even if there is truth in what they're saying as giving solicited advice, you have to think about, well, what is their motive for telling you this?
Yeah.
And if you really dive into, and especially if you start to learn about like why we have the motives that we do, a lot of the motives that we have in terms of why we take certain actions or why we say certain things, why we act a certain way, like we don't even know why we're doing things. So that person giving you unsolicited advice is usually giving it out of a projection of their own insecurities or their own past failures. Someone who's not competing anymore and gives you unsolicited advice, oftentimes they're giving that to you because they want this sense of control, or they're just projecting their own experience onto you because they never made it where they want to be, or they can't possibly see you fitting your division when they didn't fit their division either, and they are salty about that still, and they haven't let that go. So another thing is just like when people, in terms of like the control thing, is someone gives advice because they want to control the situation in some way. I've heard of a lot of coaches sliding into the DMs of athletes saying one thing or another about that athlete and like how they peaked or what they could have done differently, or like, oh, your coach isn't doing that, and it sucks, it happens. But think about it again from a motive standpoint. Why is that coach doing that? Is it really because they care about you as a person, or is it because they just are so desperate for athletes that they have to try to force themselves on an athlete in the DMs?
Yeah.
Like, think about, do you want that coach? Do you really want that coach? And then if they're offering you free coaching or discounted coaching because they believe in your potential, do you want that coach?
Or they're guaranteeing you a pro guard or a placing after seeing you for 5 minutes.
Exactly.
I can't. Like,
Or how you handled your off season.
mm-hmm.
So that, like, I think anyone who is dealing with the negative side of unsolicited advice, you just like think first about the motive. What is the reason for this person doing it? And you can almost always trace it back to something to do with their ego being fragile, them projecting their emotions, or them trying to control or influence you for their own personal gain. Has nothing to do with your gain.
Such a good point, Rachel. Check, check, and check. Thank you. Naps. But yeah, you nailed it. That's unsolicited advice. Anyway.
One thing I thought about in terms of like another part of just managing yourself and being a successful athlete in those last few weeks of prep is your, like, we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but your mental health and your awareness of yourself and your relationship to bodybuilding, your relationship to your placing and whatnot, but also how bodybuilding impacts you. Like, Daraja talks about the like positive impacts of bodybuilding, and I've felt the same thing. Like, it helps us set better boundaries, it helps us gain discipline, and all of those things like impact all sorts of our lives, or all parts of our lives. But we can also see how it impacts things negatively. And what I see a lot of, unfortunately, is people thinking that it's, well, bodybuilding ruined my health. Bodybuilding ruined my relationship with food. Bodybuilding ended my marriage.
Is why I can't have
Made me
kids.
lose my job, is why I can't have kids, right? So there are a lot of like more darker pieces that we think come from bodybuilding, but when it comes down to it, it's more so about how you related to bodybuilding and what you let bodybuilding take over. Because you don't need to let it take over your relationship. That was you. You didn't need to make bodybuilding like make your relationship with food a poor, like a negative thing, or decrease that relationship. That was you. You chose to go into bodybuilding when you already had a shitty relationship with food.
Or your
So it's
body
not,
image. I
or
think
body
I've seen a lot of that as people will blame bodybuilding or competing or just the fitness industry in general for how they view their body. Yeah.
Like if you have trouble seeing your body not stage lean or not 4 weeks out
You got to work
eating,
on that.
that's on you. That's not on bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is going to keep flowing and churning and going the way it goes because you're supposed to look a certain way on a certain day, and then you're supposed to build so that you can prove how you look on the next day you're going to be on stage. That's
Yeah.
it. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
You're making it deeper by making it something that's like that ruined you
I
or
think until you can separate that too, I think that you definitely shouldn't compete.
yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
And it's hard because people don't like bodybuilding isn't made for everyone.
It's not.
It's really not. There's a big genetic component, there's a big structural, and I'm not saying that people who don't have good genetics or who don't have the good structure for whatever like division, like they're not going to do it. No, you can do the things. You can do all the things. But like I feel like people get it in their heads that they're getting judged, and it's like that's literally the sport.
Point.
Yeah.
That's the point.
But
You have to go.
it's almost like you decide you want to just all of a sudden be an NBA basketball player, right? And then you're mad because they're upset with you on the team because you can't shoot. It's like that's literally what you signed up for. Like, you know what I mean? It's like everything that you're doing, your success, the money you make is based off of if you can shoot a fucking basketball, but you can't. It's like, okay, well then you're not going to get paid and you're going to get cut from the team. It's, it can be as simple as that. And it is just one of those things where like you have to just decide what that means for you. Are you going to just go ahead and compete anyway and have fun with it? That's fine. It's a very extreme goal sometimes for a lot of people, especially again if you're not genetically inclined to maintain muscle mass while being relatively lean, especially if you want to do it maybe as a natural athlete. There are a lot of factors that you have to consider. And you also just ultimately have to let that outcome of how you're judged on stage really just go, because you can't control that. But that's also why I will always tell people whenever someone's like, hey, do you have any advice for me as a newer competitor? And I'm always like, first of all, dude, like, if you're not having fucking fun, like, you need to quit. Like, you need to go find something else to do, maybe revisit it later. But if you're just miserable all the time, like, why are you doing this? The second thing is just focus on you. Find your group of people and stick with them. Make sure that you're an uplifting group of people and not like assholes. But don't let, there's a negative side of everything. There's a negative side of corporate America. There's a negative side of the entertainment industry. There's a negative side of a lot of things. And the people who make it out alive are the people who focus on getting their bag, getting their money, having fun, doing something they love, and then they get out.
Yeah, and the last few weeks when your emotions are heightened, when things are really hard, when like all of these things start to kind of come to a head, that's when your original why of bodybuilding will really start to impact you. And you have to lean into that why. Like if it is a really healthy why, like I've been manifesting this, I see what I look like on stage, blah blah blah, I've been working really hard in terms of like years, finances, whatever it is, like lean into that and lean into the positivity of this helps me be a better human, or it challenges me and puts me outside of my comfort zone so that I can continue to grow. And whatever that why is, this is where you need to just like remind yourself of it, because Like, yeah, you should be having fun, but sometimes you're really not having fun. Like, it's not.
There's always pieces of anything that you do, like you said. There's always going to be a negative, or there's going to be something that's like kind of inconvenient. Like I don't like taking the trash out, but I got to take it out. Like
Yeah.
I love doing cardio, but it's there for me to do, so I might as well just do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can't just be about the glam and the suits. It's like, oh, I just like the suits. They're so pretty. I wanted abs. It's like, well, when you have to decide between deciding to go eat a tub of ice cream or going to bed because you know that you aren't supposed to be doing that, you're probably going to just have the ice cream because suits and glam is not enough of a reason to have self-control.
Yeah. And when you can talk to yourself about bodybuilding and like talk to others about bodybuilding as something that you've worked hard for and you're excited about, like,
Mhm.
yeah, this is hard, but I get to wake up and do this because I've earned the right to push myself here. And I'm really excited because I bought a really expensive, overpriced bikini to go up on stage naked and have people judge, or not naked, but mostly naked, and have people judge me because I've worked hard for that shit. Like, that is motivating as hell in those last few weeks to just
Mhm.
get you through your cardio or get you through the times when you don't have any food left. So you just get to sip on your water and go to bed early. Like, and when you can speak about bodybuilding like that, it creates this huge shift. It creates this shift around how you show up and how you execute on your day, but it also creates a shift in others around you. So
Mhm.
if you work a 9 to 5 and people are at you for not eating enough, or why don't you eat this, or you like just are always in the lunchroom eating your egg whites, like, and just have
Or
something to
why are you
say.
going to get steps after lunch?
Yeah, like, oh, blah blah blah, like doesn't fit her clothes anymore, like looking, whatever it is. When you speak about bodybuilding and about your journey and about the hard as something that's kind of exciting
Empowering?
and builds, yeah, and like
Yeah.
empowering and builds you up, it shifts it for those people. It's no longer, so we talked about it, it's obvious a projection of those other people, and those other people, they can just deal with their own shit. You don't get to deal with that energy. It's something that you are excited about rather than something that is happening to you, because
Mhm.
you chose this. You chose that hard. You chose knowing that you have to get to unsustainable levels of leanness on stage, and that takes hard, like, it takes a lot of work. And so when you can speak about it as this thing that brings you light, focuses you, gives you direction, whatever it is, then those other people will just, it doesn't even matter. They're just background noise because
Mhm.
you get to do the thing that you've worked hard for.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think, kind of piggybacking off of that, one thing to help yourself just make it through the harder phases, especially, the last 4 to 6 weeks, and then also like peak week and the reverse diet phase 2, is like preparing yourself for each
Mhm.
phase.
Yeah.
Preparing yourself like you prepare for anything, like a big test at school, or preparing for a big family vacation, or preparing for, a big presentation at work. It's
Mhm.
like, well, what do you do to prepare? You make sure you know as much as you possibly can about whatever you're up against. So you do research, you ask friends, you ask your coach. You have a coach that provides you resources for all of the things that you're about to do. We have a show day necessities guide for peak week for everyone to use if they need it. We have a, reverse diet resources. We have all of these things so that people are prepared.
Mhm.
And like, you have your weekly check-ins with your coach, like, hey, what is this going to look like, and then obviously you can ask friends and stuff like that. But just being prepared by knowing what's ahead, and then making sure all your ducks are in a row, ordering everything that you need on Amazon, making sure your food is prepped, making sure that your mindset is prepped. Like, I know this is going to be hard, but I just did something hard, so I know I can do this. And just continuing to give yourself that kind of like mental proof. Well, I made it this far, and there were parts of it that were hard, so I know I can make it through this
Yeah.
without a bunch of turbulence and without a bunch of resistance. So let me see myself through this, then okay, I can get through the next thing. And then the more you do that, the better at that you become. And so you're just like more mentally equipped for handling the hard parts of prep.
Yeah.
But like, if you keep telling yourself, oh my God, this is too hard, this shouldn't be this hard, I don't know if I can do this. And if you let yourself just kind of fall off and let off the gas because it's hard or because you don't think it should be as hard or whatever,
Yeah.
then you're never going to be happy and you're not going to get very far.
And that preparation breeds a lot of confidence. I think that's something people underestimate is how much like being prepared makes you feel that much more confident and significantly less stressed for reasons we literally just talked about. So, and I love what Rachel kind of just touched on and like hits home for me because obviously being a competitive bodybuilder for, 6 years, being relatively successful, I loved the feeling of just the monotony and like knowing, okay, if I can do X, X, Y, and Z, then I know that it's going to make this process a lot easier for me. Now in motherhood, we don't get that same luxury because every day is different. And as someone who craves that routine and consistency, there are only so many things I can do to produce a desired outcome, right? Whether it's bedtime or how her sleep schedule is during the day, how I can structure my workflow around her nap time. There are days where she maybe doesn't really take lots of naps or long naps where I can get long stretches of work done. I can nail her sleep schedule and doesn't mean bedtime is going to go exactly as planned. And so I think learning that I now have a even greater appreciation for just knowing that, and I think enforcing that with my clients, that if you just do these things, you can have some control over the result. And when people don't do it, I'm like, hey man, I would love to have that same luxury. So don't pass up on that opportunity to be that much more prepared.
And if you have a lot of trouble being prepared and really setting yourself up for success by making your life and your environment conducive for bodybuilding, then it doesn't always mean that you shouldn't do bodybuilding. It most of the time means that you need a little bit more time to cook.
Yeah,
And that's it. And so
which
like
is
that's why
fine.
sometimes I'll tell an athlete when they're like, okay, we've been building for this long and when do you think we can prep? Or when do you think we can do a fat loss phase or a growth phase or something? Like sometimes I need to tell them like, you're not there yet. You need some more time because of X, Y, and Z. You're not gonna have a great prep if your metabolism is still acting like it is. You're not gonna have you're still not even able to follow your plan right now. So like why do you think you'd be able to do a prep?
Yeah.
So sometimes and that's okay, that's not a bad thing, it's not an insult, it's just like the reality of prep is a lot, it takes a lot, and there's never a right time to start a prep or compete or whatever. But if you can just be real with yourself and know like my coach has my best interest in mind, like if I'm not ready, I'm not ready, or like if my gut is telling me I'm not ready and my coach is saying I'm ready, that's a conversation to have. So
Yeah.
Routine and preparedness is just like
Bread
the
and butter.
yeah.
Like I honestly, most, let's say like productive outside of prep that I have been has in terms of my bodybuilding, like my personal athlete journey has probably been the last 6 to 8 weeks amidst like the fact that I didn't have walls and I was living out of my bedroom. I didn't have access to like all of my upstairs, dealing with like lots of just, well, we already
Chaos.
talked about it. My most productive 8 weeks have been the past 8 weeks, like this current situation, because I've just been like, hey, I don't have control over whatever the fuck is happening with my house. I don't have control over the contractors or, quite honestly, the shitty work that's happening or inspections continue to fail or whatever. I just can do what I can do in terms of eating my food. Thank God I had my kitchen, getting my meals in, prioritizing my gym because that was just like a mental sanity space for me to just go and be productive. I was able to lean into my client work and my clients doing amazing things and just like promote that. And that was like the routine. And so bodybuilding gave me like focus throughout that part of my life. So when you just have that preparedness and you have a structure and you have a routine, in terms of the things that you can control, you can just lean into that and allow that to propel you forward.
This helped anyone who is in the depths of their prep right now. If you're really feeling it, we know what it feels like, and
Yeah,
hopefully
man.
this helps. And if you're not in the depths of prep, save it, subscribe.
Yeah, come back and listen.
Yeah, come back and listen to it when you're there. So,
Yeah.
or use it to prepare for that time.
Hey.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening. We will have a lot more squad casts with all 3 coaches of Refined Strength coming through to you. So we're excited to offer just like more real world, real shit advice for you, education, as well as just like keeping you up to date on all things Refined Strength. So
Sweet.
let us know if you have any topics you want us to discuss in the comments or DM any of us and we'll make it happen.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
No.